Hi, everybody, and welcome to Unified, a podcast feed from First Church Belmont Unitarian Universalist. We'll be sharing sermons and stories, especially thematic content made new every week. We're so glad you're here, and for more information about who we are and opportunities to grow and deepen, swing by the church on Sundays or check out our website at uubelmont.org. And for now, enjoy this new content.
The path of love is the path of liberation. It is stepping up to the work before us in our own lives and in this church. This is the question, also by Rosemary Watola Tromer. She writes, "All day I replay these words. Is this the path of love? I think of them as I rise, as I wake my children, as I wash my dishes, as I drive too close to the Subaru, the slow one in front of me. Is this the path of love? These words as I stand in line at the grocery store, on the couch with my daughter, amazing how 6 words become a compass, a new lens. All day, I let myself be led by the question, is this the path of love, I ask, as I wait for the next word to come." This question has been with me lately as we have unearthed the story again of our congregation's historical connection with Cuba and slavery. As your hard-working Legacy of Slavery project has discovered stories and details of the people and their lives, as we have learned of the wonderful work of the Christian Center for Dialogue and Reflection, how they, especially in this complex and uncertain time, with rolling blackouts and rampant food scarcity, how they have focused their efforts on serving all people, being ruthlessly welcoming to everyone, especially the LGBTQ plus community, who are not automatically welcome many places, especially in Cuba. As I have learned more and more, as I've thought of our work here together, I have thought, is this the path of love? And today, as we enter into this holiday season, this first Sunday of Advent, I have thought of Jesus and his ruthless and boundless welcome, how this prophet, this iconoclast, called us to a radical love, welcoming all people who were thirsty for teaching and truth, calling all people back into a deepening faith. And now, as the politicized Christianity in this country is being weaponized and contorted, utilized to perpetuate systems of power and subjugation, it matters even more that we choose this path of love, one which sees with open eyes, refusing forgetful convenience. This is not the first time we have learned of the church's historical ties to slavery. When John O'Connor, our mustachioed intern minister, preached on the story just a few years ago, someone shared with me a sermon from my predecessor, Reverend David Bryce, in which he preached on this church's connection to Cuba and slavery many, many years ago. Stories like this can fade into the background of institutional memory. The big difference this time is we are choosing together not to forget. The Legacy of Slavery project was created and charged by the parish board to explore these stories, to share more details and connections, and make proposals for our ways forward. For a few years now, this team has researched and explored. We've made compelling connections and met incredible people. Please come again after this to hear some of those stories and stay tuned for some of the proposals. one of which at least will be some kind of permanent marker speaking to this portion of our history and honoring the people whose unpaid labor helped make this place possible. This is a beautiful act of liberating resistance, choosing to remember, choosing to honor the people who made this possible, not only honoring the names of the people who donated the money to build this place, celebrating them, yes, but also especially the people who gave their lives to help create that wealth. Cuba has this kind of multiplicity like Kyle talked about in the poem before. There is beautiful music and incredible people. Estefania, oh my goodness. Our own Danelle and every one of Gina's vast extended family. There are the people of the Christian Center for Dialogue and Reflection, the leader who could easily have left Cuba, but chooses to return time and time again to do what she can to help as many people as she can. There is so much beauty and so much challenge. There are the near impossibilities of infrastructural breakdowns, the maze of government systems and political pitfalls. Cuba is so many things all at once, and we at First Church are connected to it. We have been given this gift. And we at First Church hold this kind of multiplicity too. Yes, we have these ties to slavery, and at the same time we have fought for years for liberation, for civil rights, for freedom. We have resisted the forces of fear and hatred and have worked tirelessly for the rights of marginalized people. Our faith for years has held to the inherent worth and dignity of all people and has worked on small levels and huge levels of government and our own personal lives. So we too hold multitudes. In the wake of the election, I was deep in the midst of so many feelings. And I turned to one of my favorite podcasts called Vibe Check, in which three very wise queer black men, journalists and social commentators, and one poet reflect on this world and current events. Saeed Jones, a poet and teacher nearby and novelist, was in discussion with a colleague who said that she was writing her own personal Project 2025 in response to all that is unfolding. This is some of what he wrote in the same vein. He writes, "My Project 2025 by Saeed Jones after Maggie Smith. I am asking more questions. Like, what happened to make you feel that way? And do you feel safe here? And what can I do to help you feel safe here? I know I like to talk. I love the sound of my own voice, but I'm going to shut up and listen more. Clearly, I haven't heard all that's been said. I am paying my light bill and taking care of my babies. I am pulling the voices of people I desire and love and trust and worry over into me. I'm inviting them into the bright dark of my soul. I am the water Jesus drank in the desert. I am evicting America from my body and making room in the borders of my black body for everyone. I was sent into this life to love loudly." I remember hearing those words from a trusted teacher, a wise, queer black man, and then just days later, the white supremacist march in Columbus. My own mother was raised just a half hour from there, and Columbus is where most of that branch of my family lives. So the streets filling with neo-Nazis was a visceral experience, streets I have been on, walked over with my own mixed family. Friends, the work before us is complex. And this is the path of love that we talked about in the beginning. This is the path of rebuilding the beloved community, the path of living into the radiant vision and values of this spiritual community, and it can be daunting because the powers at play are vast. The machine of fascism rising and gaining steam in this country are vast, and it can seem like it's all just too much. But one of the great blessings of this spiritual path before us is that these particular lives offer up opportunities to live into these ideals we hold most dear. We want to live into a path of loving kindness and compassion, and instead of just the ideas living in our heads, we gather together with friends and especially with family over Thanksgiving, and we have the opportunity to practice again and again loving kindness and compassion. We want to build a world grounded in love, seeing clearly the complexity and the truth of history, owning the harm we have done in our past, seeking to make right what we can. And here at First Church, we are given this opportunity to learn of our history, this connection with Cuba and her people, and to do what we can, owning this truth and this story and answering the call to love. For me, this is part of the path of spiritual growth, answering the call of this life as it is presented before you. Not answering necessarily every call to any anti-racist action, but answering the ones before you. Choosing not to forget, choosing not to unsee. On the same podcast, one of the other commentators, Sam Sanders, a journalist, said sometimes in thinking of the election, he can get lost in the why. He said he can get swept up in pondering about the vast right-wing media, about the echo chambers of communication, asking why so many people in this country could make this choice. And he said when he gets lost in the why, he chooses to shift to the what and the how. He chooses to focus on concrete actions which can make manifest the alternate reality he chooses to live in. Often when I have faced the most daunting challenges before me with my children, with my mother, I can feel lost in the swirling sea of why, wondering how all of this happened, wondering if there was anything that could be done differently. And while the why is important, it can also be freezing. You can get stuck in that swirl and it can leave you there flailing. And in those moments, the what and the how have descended like a ladder for me to grab and climb out. So for us today, not to lose ourselves in the why of this sometimes perplexing choice so many Americans made, not to lose ourselves in the despairing why of how many choose to embrace an administration which would put trans people and queer people in danger, but instead choosing to support our own queer youth right here in Belmont, our own youth group here at this church, the GSAs in the schools, the Rainbow Club at Chenery, our LGBTQ plus alliance, creating the change, grabbing onto the ladder and climbing up out of the swirl. Instead of becoming frozen by the question of why and how racism is so deeply embedded in the fabric of this country, to show up later today, merely 30 feet away from where you're sitting right now, engaging with the work of the Legacy of Slavery Project, choosing a different way forward in this long story. This is the path of love opening before us. Around this time of year, especially, I think of the teachings of Jesus. And I've been thinking especially of the speck in the log, the story we told earlier. Such a vivid image for me, especially now. Comes in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is calling for people to let go of the judgment of others. Says that we can be so quick to point out the speck of sawdust in somebody else's eye while we have a full-blown log sticking out of ours. He calls us to remove the logs from our own eye before calling out the specks in other people's eyes. In the coming weeks, we'll be exploring this image and this teaching, but for our time today, this is the work of liberation. This is the work of the Legacy of Slavery Project, the work before us in so many ways. These logs, these eyes, these whats in the face of so many whys. This is the path of love opening before us. Amen.